Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome in if you are new. My name is Paul. I am a professional game master and personal chef based out of Denver, Colorado. We are doing another episode today of Pop Culture Character Sheets, and I thought, in honor of Robert Redford, who very recently passed away, I thought we would celebrate one of his iconic roles by doing a character sheet for Johnny from The Sting. The Sting, made in, I believe, 1973, starring Robert Redford and Paul Newman. It is set in 1936 during the Great Depression. Now, I made a comment last episode when we were doing Indiana Jones that my Pulp Cthulhu characters are all kind of set in 1926, not 1936. So that would have made him a little bit younger. But I wanted to just kind of make a character sheet for him as he appears in The Sting as a con man. He is a confidence artist. And so I went ahead and filled out a character sheet for him, and I thought we would just kind of go down the line and talk about it. Robert Redford, uh, a wonderful actor and filmmaker. Put together the Sundance Film Festival as well, and I think he will be sorely missed. He was, for all accounts that I've heard, he sounded like he was a professional, consummate professional, and a really genuinely nice human being. So we wanted to celebrate his life and career today with a character sheet for Johnny. So here we go. His last name, Johnny Hooker, is his full name in The Sting. He is a con man, so that is actually a choice that you can make when you are making a character for Pulp Cthulhu or Call of Cthulhu. And so we went ahead and chose con man. And then as an archetype, I also chose rogue, which means that he kind of, bucks the laws and trends of normal society and kind of makes his own way, which as a confidence artist is perfectly fitting for him. He grew up, the character of Johnny Hooker grew up in Joliet, Illinois, and then the events of The Sting take place in Chicago, Illinois. So I put those down as his birthplace and residence. And then I used Robert Redford's real age. I looked it up when he made The Sting. He was 37 years old. And so I went ahead and put 37 as his age for our character sheet. Now I went ahead and rolled for his statistics, his main characteristics here at the top. We have strength and constitution, etc., etc. So strength and constitution are both relatively high. He is pretty, strong, capable, physically person, but he also, gets by with his wits and his charm and his fast talking, which we will get down to with his skills down below. But a lot of these I kind of left as they were rolled. I went ahead and rolled just kind of a random roll on all of these. So I didn't change a whole lot. I went ahead and left his intelligence pretty high at 75, but lower education because I think he is working for himself, if you want to put it that way, and he is not a formally educated man in the sense of maybe being an academic or going to college necessarily, but he knows his way around the streets, and he's a very smart person. So as a rogue, he gets either dexterity or appearance as his main characteristics. So that is going to be the characteristic that is the highest. What you see as appearance is 85. So I thought about the story of the Sting. He gets in a few scrapes here and there, and some chases. Most of the time, though, he is relying on his wits to try and kind of outsmart or fool his opponents. So he I went with appearance as opposed to dexterity, being a less physical and more kind of relying, like I said, on his wits, his charm, and things like that. Plus, again, Robert Redford. We're talking about Robert Redford here. He was a absolutely one of the most handsome men in the world. So we want to kind of acknowledge that by giving him that appearance rating. So he will be able to use his physical appearance, his physical charm, things like that to his advantage when it's necessary. So that kind of does it for most of his statistics. I'm not going to go into all the necessaries about too many other things. I will say he rolled pretty high for his luck, so he's starting out with 85 points of luck, which is a lot. He can use those in the game of Cthulhu to boost certain skill checks to the level that he would need to succeed. So, for instance, with Cthulhu, you want to roll under whatever your skill level is. So, if we look at his ability in fast talk, he has a really good chance of that. He has a 75% chance of succeeding. So, he would roll a D100, which is a big 100 sided dice, or two 10-sided dice. You roll one for the tens digit, one for the singles digit. So if he say needed to get under 75 in order to succeed his fast talk check, but he rolled a 78, then he could use 4 points of his luck, his spend those at the beginning of his adventure. He kind of those are refresh or re-rolled for either at the beginning of an adventure, at the beginning of a story, or even per session, depending on what your game master decides to do or how they want to allocate their luck points. But for instance, yeah, like I was saying, he would need to spend 4 points of luck in order to get his check down under the 75 that he needs in order to succeed. So that is kind of how luck points are taken in. Sanity points, on the other hand, are a little bit harder. They're not just necessarily automatically refreshed. They need to perhaps seek a psychologist or a psychoanalyst in order to help them deal with some of the uh, trauma that they've experienced on these kind of cosmically horrific adventures that Cthulhu often entails. And so they would need to find a way to replenish their sanity in a more, I guess you could say, a more realistic way in that sense, right? You need to take care of your sanity, take care of each other, take care of your teammates in order to maintain a level of survivability. If someone goes temporarily insane or even indefinitely insane, they would end up having to be relegated to, in the 1920s, 1930s, it would have been an insane asylum or a private hospital or something like that. And so they would have to retire from the adventure, and the player will sometimes have to bring in a new character in order to replace the one that went insane. That's kind of one of the mechanics of Cthulhu. It's kind of strange to be talking about going insane when you're looking at Robert Redford in The Sting, but that is Cthulhu. It is a mechanic in a Cthulhu game. So I just wanted to include that since it is right here on the character sheet, and I don't think I talked about it last time. But going down his skills, he's not a good accountant. It's not necessarily, he knows how to count money, for sure as a con man. But, it's not necessarily professional on any sense. So I just left him as is on that. However, appraise, if he sees an item that he thinks might be worth money, he might have a better idea of how much money that thing is worth. Archaeology, no. Arts and crafts, no. If you go down here to charm, though, you see there are certain skills that are selected as like his key skills. And so these are the ones that you'll notice are pretty high compared to the other ones. Charm is his ability to just be charming and be like kind of, be a smooth kind of person, which as Johnny Hooker in The Sting, he was. He was very smooth, very charming. So I went ahead and bumped him way up on that one. So he actually has a 4 out of 5 chance of succeeding at any charm checks. Climb, I left as is. Credit rating, I gave him 30, which is pretty average. I think he's able to take care of himself pretty well. He obviously dresses pretty well as well. So I think he's able to take care of himself relatively easily. Disguise, I bumped up a little bit so that if necessary, he might be able to disguise himself and sneak in somewhere. However, over in stealth, I didn't bump it up too much, but I did give him extra points in stealth as well. So those kind of things often go hand in hand in certain situations. Diving didn't really come up. Dodge is automatically half of whatever his dexterity was. So at 60, he gets 30 points there. Drive auto, I gave him a few extra points in that. Not a ton, but if he needs to make an escape or gets in a car chase, he would have a little bit of an extra chance. Moving down, you see fast talk. I bumped way up on that as well. So if he gets if he gets in situations where he needs to convince someone of something within just a few minutes, he doesn't have a lot of time. That's when fast talk comes in, as opposed to persuade over here on the upper right. That one is more of a long con kind of thing. So you're spending more like an hour or two discussing something with someone, and you're persuading them over to your point of view, as opposed to fast talk where you're just trying to kind of con your way in, maybe past a doorman or something like that. So yeah, fast talk I think fits Johnny really really well in this case. Brawling, fist fights and things like that, I kind of left as is. Same thing with firearms. First aid, history, intimidate, all of those things I kind of left as is. None of those really jumped out to me as skills for Johnny in this case. His skill in English is the same as his level of education, which is 55, so a little bit above average there. Now, law. Law does not necessarily mean that he's trying to represent himself in court. It's not that he is trying to be a lawyer, it's more that he knows what the law and specifically what law enforcement is up to. So he would know kind of like, oh, I see a cop there, I see a cop there, I see a cop there. I think they're watching something and I think they're planning something. He would be able to figure out kind of what the cops are up to, which I think for Johnny is very fitting. I think he definitely would have his eye on local law enforcement and things like that a lot. So that one is relatively high. Library use. I don't think he went to the library at all in the sting. I would have to remember. Maybe he went to look up newspapers or periodicals or something like that, but I don't remember that happening. Um, uh, Listen is his ability to overhear conversations and pick up on conversational cues and things like that. So also really skilled there. I gave him 20 extra points in locksmith so that if he needs to pick a lock, he would have at least a fighting chance there. Mechanical repair, medicine, natural world, navigate, occult. There's no occult things in the sting. So if Johnny were to enter a Cthulhu adventure, he would be in over his head in a lot of those supernatural kind of occurrences. So that would be something where if he was encountering an occult event, the game master might ask for an occult check to see if he knows anything about it or whatever. But if he fails that, he might end up losing sanity points if something is really shocking or traumatic for him to witness. Then that would happen. So that's something to bear in mind when you're playing a character in a Cthulhu game, right? Persuade, as we said before, that's more of a long con kind of conversation. And psychology. Psychology, again, is not necessarily sitting down in a therapist's office and talking to someone. It is in Cthulhu games. It is more your ability to read a person's nonverbal cues, read their body language, kind of tell if they are by the way their face looks, if they are lying, and also be able to kind of talk to somebody about their feelings. Like those kinds of things might come up in a Cthulhu game. Like, okay, like how are we all feeling about like what all these dead bodies we just saw or something like that, like whatever might end up coming up in a Cthulhu game, sometimes psychology is going to come in when we're talking about the inner life of characters. So there's that. Read lips, left as is. Ride, like horseback riding or something like that, I left as is. Sleight of hand, I gave him quite a few points there so that if he needs to, he can pick someone's pocket. Spot hidden is the ability to look for clues, to look through a scene and find things that the untrained eye might not be able to notice. So I gave him extra points there. Stealth as well, a few points there. Survival is just basic survival. If there is a specialization here, for instance, if you are good at tracking. Well, I guess there is the tracking skill, so I shouldn't say that. Survival, maybe outdoorsmanship or something like that. The ability to survive in the outdoors. That's where you would have a specialization. Whereas, like, just a basic survival skill, again, is kind of just your ability to take care of yourself. And so I gave him a little bit of a boost over the normal 10% that people always start with. Swimming is average. Throwing, tracking, all of that is average. So that is Johnny in a nutshell. I didn't go through and list anything necessarily for his inventory, his gear, possessions, meaningful locations. I didn't fill out a whole lot of those details because I a lot of times like to leave things like that to the player to let them fill that in to what they want. Um, encounters with strange entities. Johnny did not have any encounters with strange entities, but his credit level is what uh, ends up computing your spending level, your cash. So your spending level is your daily, kind of your daily allowance as investigators. And in the 30s, especially during the Great Depression, $10 a day is huge, 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 huge. If he needs to, Johnny can go to the bank and get up to $60 cash. He can hold up to $60 on his person. And then assets are his just personal belongings, things that belong to him. So that represents just kind of how his credit rating affects things. If his credit rating were to go up, to 40, then I think he would end up with like 1250 and then $80 cash. I think I don't remember what the exact math is on those, but um, that is Johnny in a nutshell for the Sting, played by Robert Redford. A wonderful, wonderful character. I highly recommend this movie to anyone that has not seen it. I do think that we're going to be seeing a lot of Robert Redford tributes over the next few weeks on YouTube here. So keep your eye out because, again, as I said, he was a talented, talented man. And from what I'm seeing of tributes to him online and things, even just people that ran into him on the street, it seems like he was just a charming and really nice guy. So I wanted to celebrate his life and his career in one of the ways that I do, which is by celebrating a character that they've played and making a character sheet for tabletop games. So here is the finished project or the finished product of a character sheet for him. I think that's going to do it for me. This is a shorter video than some of the other videos that I've put out. I didn't go into a ton of the actual plugging in of numbers. They were already done, and I just went through them here. So I hope I didn't leave anything out. If anybody has any comments on how this was put together, I would love to hear from you. And if you have any other suggestions for other characters to do character sheets for, please let me know because I really enjoy this stuff. I think it's a really cool way, like I said, of celebrating characters and bringing them to life in a different format than how we might be used to seeing them. So thank you so much for joining me. We will do this again next time. Give me a like, comment, and subscribe if you would be so kind. I would really appreciate it. And we will see you all next time. Take care.